I have not wanted to review this deck for 2 sets now because I just felt it wasn't worth my time, it was just not good enough, or I honestly just hadn't cracked the formula yet. But after a very long time of waiting, I'm back to down bed. Hey, what's going on, guys? I'm Mr. here. Today I am back to D series with Lyrical Monasterio, the one phrase, the one line I never thought I'd say. But yes, I'm actually doing a Lyrical Monasterio deck profile, and as you can tell, I've not wanted to do this deck profile for very long. Mainly because Feltyrosa has been complete crap. I don't think it's a trade secret at this point, it's just not one of the better decks in Lyrical, considering you have format whoppers like Kyrie and you have great stuff like Kyoka, hot stuff, haha. But you know, it's just a lot of things have not been going her way. But today I've decided, it's about time I actually covered this deck profile, because I feel we finally have enough to wrap it up, and I finally have an idea of how this deck can work moving forward, which is why I'm actually confident enough to sit in front of a camera and tell you that I actually bought one of these in holo. So yeah, you can come shame me, my comments are open. So what this deck does is basically just like Night Rose with extra steps. All you do is essentially you are a vampire girl who is very hot and attractive, and you have a lot of ghosts, and yeah. It's kind of strange why there's so many ghosts in the school. Is the school haunted? Are they all her dead classmates? What's going on? I don't really care. I just find it hot. But yeah, it's just an interesting deck. It's just Bastion reskinned as a lyrical girl-ish deck. But you know what? It's actually interesting enough now to actually be worth mentioning, considering the fact that you have so many right lines in lyrical. Yeah, nothing matters. Just play a different nation. But no, I like Feltyrosa quite a fair bit, so I'm actually going to be talking about her. So let's start with the right deck, because that's how you do D-series deck profiles. I completely forgot, because I've not done a D-series deck profile in so long. The grade 0, Feltyrosa is just Feltyrosa. You don't really get an additional benefit for playing this Feltyrosa, but it's Feltyrosa, please play it. Our grade 1 is Talented Day Off Feltyrosa. She has a skill that during your turn, if there is a ghost on your rearguard, she gains an additional 2000 power. Now, I understand that both her grade 1 and grade 2 versions have a VNR skill. Do not be fooled if you are found playing more than one copy of Feltyrosa on the main deck. First of all, I will shake your hand for also playing this deck, because she's very nice. Secondly, you're a complete idiot, because Feltyrosa is a vampire, not a ghost, so you don't actually get synergy by playing more copies of this thing. So yeah, please keep that in mind. If you could not read your cards now, I'm safely giving you a PSA. Just don't play extra copies of Feltyrosa. But what does she do in the right deck is that when she's ridden upon, you Soul Blast 1, you add a ghost card from your drop zone into your hand. Okay, so you trade one Soul Blast for one recursion. And since you discarded a card to open a right deck, you essentially just traded the cost to Soul Blast 1. Okay, that's not bad, considering that there's quite a lot of right decks that do that nowadays, so yeah, it's nice. The grade 2 is Talent of Enjoyment Feltyrosa. This version is one of the main enablers and one of the most weirdly designed cards on the planet. Her VNR skills, if you have 3 or more ghosts, this unit gains 5000 power during your turn. Now here's the fun part. I know both of them have alluded to this being a very aggro ghost deck pushing forward on turn 2. This is the furthest thing from the truth. If you actually call units in the front row during your first or second turn, your opponent can just counterblast, deny you, prison you, retire them, and then you just can't do anything with your grade 3 Feltyrosa, who I'll describe later. So generally speaking, you actually don't really play towards the 1 and 2, you play more towards the 3, because they're all still Feltyrosa. Just value them regardless. But what does the grade 2 do is that when she's ridden upon, you actually choose a ghost card from your hand and put it to the top of your deck. Very strange. And then you add a ghost card from your drop zone into your hand. So you may be wondering, wow, that's very specific. Why would I want to do that? And that is to enable your Rondo of Eventide Moon, Feltyrosa. Her ability is when she attacks and she drive checks a normal unit ghost, you actually can superior call it to an open front row circle. And then if you do, you can choose to counterblast 1 and she gains an additional drive. Now, the calling of the ghost is not restricted by counterblast, it's just restricted by whether the circle is open. So as long as the circle is open, which means your previous attackers have actually cleared themselves off, you get to superior call. So this is a skill that cannot be counterblast denied. but you do lose the ability to actually gain the card back to your hand because of the drive check, or even worse, just being able to snowball. Now, if you drive check a normal ghost, you have to call it. You have to call the ghost before you actually gain the ability to counterblast 1 and then gain the extra drive. So that's the thing, because it's if you call, then you get the counterblast 1. So you cannot just flip a ghost. It's okay, I don't call, I just counterblast 1. I want the extra drive. You can't do that. So it is a very sad but very true. So please keep that in mind. Please keep that in mind. Now that we've covered the wonderful lady of this deck, let's carry on with the rest of the deck, because the rest of the deck gets harder from here. So our grade 3s, we are playing 1 copy of Feltyrosa on the right deck and 3 other copies of Feltyrosa on the main deck. This is the only other version, this is the only other thing that you can play in the main deck that's not a ghost. It's just more Feltyrosa because the Persona right is good for multi-attack. You play 4 copies of Capricorn of Circulating Star Ingrid, and then you play 4 copies of Selfie Practice and Elise. Both are ghosts. So Feltyrosa, I've already described what she does. I will not be going through it anymore. No, I have to move off screen. And then of course I play 4 copies of Capricorn of Rotating Star Ingrid. Ingrid is one of the main ghosts that you do want to call. It's a pretty good card. The skill is pretty simple. When placed from anywhere other than the hand, you get to counter charge 1. Then look at your back row rearguard circle that's right behind her, and then you stand it. So you may be wondering, well, it's very strange. Why would I want to stand the rearguard right behind this? Why would I want to counter charge if it's not called from hand? Because as I said, this card can superior call from the top card of your deck. And as you see later, because I mentioned this has a more grand blue kind of aesthetic, you will actually get to superior call from the drop zone. So yes, that is a hint for what there is to come. So it's nice, but it's not that bad. You get to counter charge, which is that will use a lot of color blast for grade 3 Feltyrosa. But the second skill is where you start to see the strengths and flaws of this deck. When this unit attacks, she gains 5,000 power, but she must move to the bottom of the deck after that. This effect is mandatory. Yeah, so you notice they will start to destroy themselves, or at least this one does, and this one does, and this one does, and this one does. But it's not that bad. Not all of them perish in horrible ways. They do come back, or they do at least make your minusing not that hard. Ingrid, however, is just a straight up just put it to the bottom of the deck, similar to the Athlete, who I'll cover later. So yeah, you do actually minus here and there, but the minusing is to clear the circle to enable Feltyrosa to multi-attack. So it kind of net zeros a lot, which is fine, but you don't really get to play an advantage game here. So do keep that in mind. So because it is important that you know. However, Ingrid is still a very important card to this deck, so as long as you're considering playing Feltyrosa, this is the fall. And then next up, I play 4 copies of Selfie Practice and Elise. And Elise is one of the few cards who minuses in a good way. She's only 12,000 power, so you do need to boost her to attack a grade 3 Vanguard. And then after the battle that she attacks, you slide her into the soul, choose a unit, and it gains 5,000 power. So it minuses 1, but it goes to the soul. It's fine. This is one of the few effects that's actually okay, and it gives you power at that. So it is nice, it's very easy. It's just one of the more simpler cards to play in Feltyrosa, and it does feel soul, because as you see in our grade 2 lineup, there is a lot of soul usage. Moving on to our grade 2s, we actually play very little, but they are very important as well. We play 1 copy of Talent of Enjoyment Feltyrosa for the right deck. We play 4 copies of this is the Athlete, and then we play 4 copies of Eleanor. So both of them, as you can tell, seem pretty important, and they are. So I already covered Feltyrosa, so I have to remove her from screen. No. Let's cover Eleanor first. Eleanor, when she attacks you, so plus 2, she gains 15,000 power. At the end of the bell, she moves to the top of the deck. So this one's not that bad in the sense that you still put her on top, so you can actually just call her back with Feltyrosa. It's alright, but you are still minusing and paying Soul Blast 2, which is a lot. But you do get 15,000 power, which is also a lot. So yeah, this is one of the more heavy puncher cards and one of your best win conditions actually. So do actually plan when you want to use Eleanor because you can actually just call it early out, just have her around the board, and then after that, when you want to trigger a skill, just pay the cost and she will float for you to the top of the deck. Then the drop zone calling is Diethylene. When she attacks, at the end of battle she attacks, you need to move her to the bottom of the deck. This effect's mandatory, so she's really painful. But she has a really simple and nice skill. When placed on a rearguard circle, as long as your Vanguard is a grade 3 Feltyrosa, you choose a card from your drop zone and superior call it to an open circle. Well, that's fine. You know, you not only can you actually guarantee an extra 1 attack if you only get to call her, she also helps to build your board in any phase of the game, which is nice. Just for a simple cost for Soul Blast. Soul, which is pretty intensive, which you can see from a Soul Blast 2 and a Soul Blast 1. But you know what? It's not that bad. You can still make man meat, and you also have a Soul Charger, a very unorthodox Soul Charger in this deck. Moving on to our grade 1s. Our grade 1s are very interesting as well. Feltyrosa does not have a lot of grade 1s to play with. She has herself as the grade 1 Feltyrosa. You play 3 copies of this girl who is actually a restander. You play 4 copies of this, and then you play 4 copies of the new Ghost PG. Yes, you have a Ghost PG now. Please buy the Ghost PG because this is strangely a bit more expensive than the rest for no reason at all, and it should not be. But hey, considering this is one of the 2 support cards Feltyrosa gets this set, alright, you should be picking it up. And of course, we have Rife Embrace. Her skill is very simple. Once per turn, as long as another ghost is got to the same column as her, choose a Feltyrosa from your drop zone and put it to your soul. Well, it's a very nice book. It's actually a picture of Feltyrosa. Can't really see it, but yeah. So actually it's pretty interesting in the sense that you soul charge with Feltyrosa cards from your drop zone. So basically the Feltyrosas that you've been soul blasting out this entire game to keep paying your costs, you are now reusing them as your soul charge fodder at a once per turn speed as long as you call something to a column. This card does literally nothing from an offensive standpoint, but considering the fact that she is a very innovative way to soul charge and the only way to really soul charge in this deck, yeah, it's really quite okay. And for me, I will play as a 4-off just to make sure that I can keep having my resources. It's not nice to run out of resources, you know what I mean? Lastly is 3 copies of her. Her skill is very simple. When a ghost is placed to the same column as her, you restand her. Yeah, it's as simple as that. It's just a restanding back row attacker. You've seen her in Ghost Kyrie, now you see her in the ghost there. It's no explanation there. The skill text is as small as you think. Last but very not least, we're moving on to our grade 0s. Our grade 0s, I mean, do I really have to explain this? We play 1 copy of our grade 0 Feltyrosa for right deck. We play an over trigger, obviously. We play for heal. We play, strangely, 7 crits. And then we play 4 draw. I can't afford the effect crit, but I do know the effect draw is important for me, so yeah, I do have it. But honestly, you can play without the effect triggers. Please do not feel pressured by any way to do so. You don't need them. But in any ways, this is how the Feltyrosa deck pretty much looks like from a trigger standpoint. Some people play more draws because of more minusing you do, but for me, this is still D-series. So you still do want to punch up, you still want to kill. So I still feel 7 crits is pretty okay for balance, but yeah, I understand that some people would rather play more draw, and that's honestly fine. As long as you have 4 of those effect draws for competitive Feltyrosa deck, which I have no idea what that is, you're pretty much set. And that wraps up my DLBT03 Feltyrosa deck profile. Yeah, that is all I really have to say about it. Is this deck gonna be viable? I don't think so. But I will say one thing though, D is in a lot of a better spot than it was, you know, at let's say a year ago. And it's definitely a lot better. Of course, I'm a bit upset that DLBT03 as well as stuff like DBT06 did not make a great effort to support everybody. But then again, I understand that you cannot support everybody. You cannot make everyone happy. So for DBT07, I'm happy to see that stuff like the Eugene get support, stuff like Bastion get support, but for lyrical players, you signed up for this, so you knew you'd be shafted. And okay, that's fine. You are happy being down bad and shafted, or being super meta and down bad. That's fine. For me, I'm just happy to keep playing this deck because I really enjoy this style, no matter how painful it is pretty fun to play, and I do like Feltyrosa, as it's nice. But I understand it's not for everybody. There's so many lyrical girls out there. Just play what you want to play, try what you want to try. Even if you're playing absolute crap like Willista, I mean, realistically speaking, as long as you're having fun with it, it's alright. Just don't try and fight this at a tournament versus, your usual meta culprits. Thank you all so much for watching. I do plan to do more D series deck profiles, surprisingly, but they will come at a much slower pace because D takes more time to test, in the sense that your matchups are more sensitive and it is more diverse in what you can do, whereas V matchups, I mean, there's so many more decks, but in terms of a competitive standpoint, how many decks do you really need to test against? But yeah, it's alright, because in the D meta right now, with the ban list and whatnot, it's much more of a bigger pool than, say, V. V, you have a lot of rogue decks, D, you have a lot of good decks. So it's just testing it and seeing what you want to play, and also given the price point of D is actually pretty okay now, if you ask me. Although you should not be taking financial advice from me, I am not very rich. Thank you all so much for watching. I'll see you all next time. Take care. Goodbye.